LeBron is done with the Lakers. We have it right here, reported by Shams Charania. Breaking news, LeBron James will continue his NBA career for the 2026-2027 season and has informed the Los Angeles Lakers that the franchise can move on without him because he plans to play elsewhere. Clutch Sports CEO Rich Paul tells ESPN. Crazy news. I mean, a lot of people thought that LeBron was going to stay with the Lakers, but yeah, man. Funny enough, little bit of background to this video. I had a separate script already done. You know, this news broke earlier today, and the trade talks originally involved LeBron James and Anthony Edwards in a 3-team trade. We'll go into that a little later, but literally right before recording this video, we get another report, and this is from NBA Central. This is not Centel. This is NBA Central, and you know, it happened on live TV. NBA Central, Hoop Central, all reported on it. The Washington Wizards are shutting down all trade talks involving Anthony Davis. So I kind of had to redo and revamp the script the last second before we started recording this. But nonetheless, we're going to get into the main portion of this video, which was originally LeBron James leaving the Lakers. I mean, you know, after 8 seasons in LA and a championship in 2020 and becoming one of the most accomplished players in franchise history, whether you guys want to admit it or not, LeBron has informed the Lakers that he's going to be playing somewhere else for his 24th season. And, you know, all eyes have immediately shifted to all the teams in the league that aren't the Los Angeles Lakers, but specifically to the Golden State Warriors. And, you know, this isn't just an offseason rumor anymore. I mean, we already knew that Golden State were planning to pursue LeBron once free agency started. I think that was obvious. You know, Curry and LeBron have both made it very evident that they want to play with each other at some point before their careers, you know, come to a close. And, you know, now that he's officially left the Lakers, it leaves that possibility just, you know, it leaves a huge possibility for the Warriors to actually go pursue him. And the timing of it makes a lot of sense too, because obviously we know Draymond and LeBron are very close. But just yesterday, the news broke that Draymond declined a $27 million and a half player option for the Warriors. And you know, reports had already said that the Warriors were working on a new deal that would lower his salary next season to give Golden State, you know, more flexibility to chase another star. At the time, people were just thinking that they were just preparing for a possibility, but now we know exactly why they did that. There was a direct intent, because not even a couple hours later, one of Draymond's best friends, aka, you know, one of the best players in the league, aka the best player of all time, becomes a free agent. And obviously, with those two news kind of going hand in hand, Golden State is obviously expected to make a serious push for LeBron. And obviously, you know, early reports also connected that the Warriors had like I mentioned earlier, had a possible chance of going after Anthony Davis, and with trade talks there that would have reunited him with LeBron over at Golden State. But the idea had already, you know, cooled off in a big way, the way I showed according to ESPN. You know, like I originally said, the Pelicans said that they had no intentions of pursuing any trade talks with any team. So that kind of just shuts it down. So that really just leaves one question. Can Golden State convince LeBron to join Steph? And I think the answer has been kind of evident. But I think the answer is kind of obvious, and it's obviously yes. However, can they put up a good enough package to bring LeBron? Because at the end of the day, business is business. So ESPN reports tell Golden State that they, you know, they've been told that they're one of LeBron's preferred destinations, alongside a couple of other teams. You know, in fact, league sources say that the Warriors will, you know, still have to recruit him as a player. The Cleveland Cavaliers and Miami Heat are also expected to be serious contenders in these trade talks. Like I said, this just went live today. This announcement was just made today. We don't know much yet. So, you know, maybe he returns to one of his former teams, one of his 2 former teams. And, you know, that makes this entire free agency so much more appealing and so much more interesting than it was. I mean, we've already gotten huge trade talks. Yesterday we covered one. We missed the LaMelo Ball union with Anthony Edwards over in Minnesota. Today We're probably just hours, maybe minutes away from seeing Kawhi reunite back with his former team in the Toronto Raptors. And so far, this just makes this offseason, this free agency, so much more interesting than it already was when you throw in literally the best player of all time into the mix. Because for the first time in years, LeBron's next team genuinely feels like it's unpredictable. Like, his next move feels like it's unpredictable. He is 41 years old, turning 42 this December, and is entering one of the final chapters of literally the greatest career that this league has ever seen. And I'm not saying that to glaze. I'm literally being honest. The all-time leading scorer and the greatest player that we've ever seen play. And even dealing with things that have caused him to miss the first month of last season, he still averaged 20 points. I think it was like 21 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds while shooting over 51% at 41 years old. And he was an all-star. He was still an all-star. Granted, he was an all-star reserve, but he was still an all-star. And he was putting up even more points in the playoffs. I think he was averaging like 22, 23 points in the playoffs. He's obviously not the player he was in his prime. He's not the LeBron that was in Miami. He's not the LeBron 2016 LeBron in Cleveland. But he's still one of the smartest and very evident best players in the league, on top of being, just levels above everyone else when it comes to his basketball IQ. And the Warriors thinking is pretty easy to understand here. Steph Curry is going to be 39 next season. Steph Curry has been the face of their franchise for I don't know how many years. LeBron is entering year 24. Draymond isn't really getting any younger at this point, and kind of has started to become a liability for this Warriors team. They're trying to maximize whatever championship hopes they still have with the roster that they still have before they fully have to rebuild. It means, taking one last swing with Steph and LeBron. You at least have to see if a playoff berth is possible, right? I mean, they've been on the heels of playoff berth. The Lakers just got there, and the Warriors have been on the heels of a playoff berth for I don't know how long. Like last season, they just missed it. And this whole situation kind of reminds me a little bit of the 2004 Lakers. They already had Kobe, they already had Shaq. And then they decided to add Karl Malone, who was 40 years old at the time, Gary Payton, who was, 36 at the time. And on paper, it looked like one of the most talented teams ever assembled. They won 56 games, 55 games, something like that. And they made it to the NBA Finals. They obviously lost, but that was further than those two individuals in Karl Malone and Gary Payton were going to make alone. Like, those two guys were not washed, but they were definitely on the tail end of their careers. And they were not going to get anywhere trying to be the face of their own franchises. So they stepped out, joined forces, and, made something happen. And, that's exactly what we see here. That's the same exact situation we see here. We see LeBron's decision to leave the Lakers. Yes, it closes one of the chapters to one of the most successful franchise runs in history. He spent 8 seasons with the Lakers. He delivered the 2020 championship after they had not won a championship in years since Kobe. He broke the NBA's all-time scoring record with the Lakers. He finished top 10 in franchise history in points with the Lakers. He, was 5th in field goal with the Lakers. Like, he put up a very Hall of Fame worthy career with the Lakers alone. That's a really impressive run, and people don't realize it just because he hasn't had much team success since 2020. But now the question is simple. Where does LeBron finish his career? Because it's not going to be the Lakers. He made it clear it's not going to be the Lakers. I mean, truly, where will LeBron finish his career? It could be in Golden State alongside Steph Curry. He might even go back home to Cleveland, or maybe give it one more attempt in Miami, which, already would, I know I mentioned Miami earlier, but, kind of need a highlight. This isn't the Miami that we've seen the last couple of years. They have Giannis now. They're a very well-rounded team. They are on, also the heels of playoff berth, of championship berth, with the right pieces around them. So is Cleveland. Cleveland was in the conference finals last season. Like, these are teams that are playoff berths. We know LeBron probably wants to get another ring. And it's either, you take the risk and run the path of going and joining forces in the Warriors and potentially getting there, or go to two solidified teams already currently at this point in time and join forces with those players. Honestly, there's not much certainty in either of those choices. Obviously, everybody would love to see LeBron go and unite himself with the Lakers, go be with Curry for one last season potentially before he retires. But the only thing we know for sure is this offseason just got so much more interesting because for LeBron's potential last season, we're going to see him in new threads. Something that a lot of us didn't think were going to happen. We thought that he was already set in Los Angeles. We thought that he was good to go, and we thought that he was going to retire a Laker. I mean, we were having statue talks. We were having statue talks outside of Crypto Arena for LeBron when he retires, if he would deserve a statue or not. It's very crazy. There's not many trades that can shake up the league quite like the GOAT retiring. But the only thing that we do know for certain is that next season is going to definitely be a great season to watch basketball for any basketball fan. It's going to be a great season simply because, everything that's happening right now on top of, all the storylines that we're going to go into with Wemby trying to get another ring, with, seeing if the Knicks can go back to back. If he happens to go to a team in the West, can the Knicks go back to back? So many cool storylines that we're going to be able to see next season play out. And this just adds, this just throws a whole wrench into the mix because it makes things just that much more interesting. But overall, let me know what you guys think. Definitely the biggest news out of free agency thus far. And honestly, if, let me know if you guys think he's going to end up at any of the 3 locations. Maybe you guys have a different location. I know that he said that he's open to any team in the league. I believe those are the 3 biggest with the 3 biggest and most attractive targets to LeBron. But, who am I at the end of the day? I'm just a guy talking about sports. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. And yeah.